be forewarned, everyone. You all know what the statistical probability that these holes in the chart will be filled in here. I mean, you know this. Don't fight this stuff. 91.4%. That's a pretty damn big number. If this is a harmonic, which it does look to me like it is, then really what this is saying is that Bitcoin probably needs to go right back down and test those original lows, which we've been saying all along, because cost of production. This is also another blockchain related name. Actually, he was really good at sort of hanging in there around $1 for quite a while. So it's lost that. Yeah, there we are. So you can see it looks like I went and picked up a little bit for my own personal account there at 60 cents just recently. So here we are at 52. Blockchain stock. Does that look like it's bottomed? I don't think so. So we're still a little bit of ways away here on this one. Had you traded this and you were taking sizable risk, then hey, you better get the hell out of there on that outside downside key reversal. Huge fail there. 20th of June, there was something critical that happened in this space. 20th of June. And then there's these warrants, and they're kind of the same thing as that DACT exchange. Warrants are pretty cheap, 18 cents now. You can see how high these things were. Of course, we're pretty lucky banging out doubles up top there. So we got kind of lucky on this one. But is there any sign of a bottom here yet? I don't think so. We had this, that was the 14th of June. We said the 20th of June, there was something that hit the stock itself. That was right in here. I suppose anywhere, somewhere down in here, if we start seeing W's come in, then maybe we can start thinking about this. You can see I did buy a little bit of it at 62.5. So I'm substantially underwater on that. That would have been through here. I might add to this a bit more. I don't know. Don't like the fact that December 23 is the strike, though, is the expiration, though. So that might in itself, maybe I'll just leave this alone. I'll just, take my lumps on this one order. $500 punch in the nose. But I don't see any counter trend rally. And if anything, if we do get a counter trend rally in here, probably best just to hop off. So there's another blockchain stock that really doesn't look overly exciting. I just don't see any bottoms here. And these are all sort of like junior stocks in the space. They will turn up last. If anything, maybe you all can learn from that. Big blockchain stocks is interesting to see. This blockchain ETF. Fascinating how I guess months ago we did a prediction thinking we'd do something like this. And it turns out I was just probably about a month or so early. And we actually did that. So go figure. Suppose we can take this study here and drag it down to that was the ultimate low right there. So interesting how 78.6, 61.8 is basically everything that I'm trying to teach you in the education program here. I don't know whether we would call this a valid harmonic or not. Maybe it has to be something out to there. This was actually, because we came all the way down here, that was actually a 50% retracement. And that is off of this low. Maybe it's not. Let's see if we go there. All right. So that is, basically 50%. Then we counter trend rallied off of that low back up to here. Is that a little too steep? I don't know whether Steven would like that or not. Might be a bit too steep. Remember we talked about all this open interest on these options. Obviously this is from a while ago. So we double topped, and then of course remember just this most recent options expire. We talked about those $17 options. So clearly the market, they wanted the market to go out right around there. And that options expiry day, they actually closed I think at like 16.98 right there. 16.98. So in essence, they had a home run on those $17 puts. I do like the idea that we probably need to come all the way back down here now on this thing. I don't know. I mean, here is the reload zone off of this particular range. And if I'm not mistaken, if it's 50%, then maybe what we're thinking is, well, here, let's pull it up here just so I don't make a mistake. Right, 50%. Let's see what we got here. So could be a crab. 38.2 all the way down to 61.8. It's not a Gartley. Here we are, 38.2 to 50%. This is what I actually think it is a bat. So if it's a bat, then that means we go down to 88.6 here. So 88.6 is there. So be forewarned, everyone. And this makes sense too, because I mean, you all know what the statistical probability that these holes in the chart will be filled in here. I mean, you know this. Don't fight this stuff. 91.4%. That's a pretty damn big number. So if this is a harmonic, which it does look to me like it is, then really what this is saying is that Bitcoin probably needs to go right back down and test those original lows, which we've been saying all along, because cost of production. And if we go into some sort of meltdown here into the fall, looking at the big sort of US proxy in this space, and we kind of talked about this the other day, were they rallying this thing into resistance? Remember, this is a big hole on the charts here. So that hole needed to be filled in. Gaps need to be filled in, right? So that's basically being done now. Can they really justifiably crank this thing up through this resistance level here now? I don't know. Suppose if oil takes off and then we start to see tech stocks actually start to flounder a little bit because that energy market is booming higher, I would imagine this thing could easily come back a bit. And that's basically a V bottom. I mean, it's a little bit of a W, but you can see. And if you wanted to work a stink bid, that level right there looks like it needs to be traded to. That level there looks like it needs to be traded to. Are there any gaps? Oh boy, look at this. There's a big one down here. That level there needs to be traded to. There's also another gap here. Oh my God, this thing's riddled with gaps. Is that a gap? Oh, maybe it isn't. But anyway, probably don't. Oh, there it is there. Yeah. So gap, 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 gap. I don't think you really need to worry about this thing running away from us. Having said that, if we can start closing back above here, then maybe we can fog and bomb this bottom out here. That will give you upside objectives. Don't know whether we're ready to do that just yet or not, but anyway, let's see where that takes us. So if this double bottom can come in, then it's projecting that we're going to go back up. I guess there's a gap up there that needs filling in as well. 16.88, look left. There's an interesting sort of traffic area right in there. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I would very explicitly expect this thing to come down and fill these gaps in when the whole market rolls over. Could I actually buy that there, right there at that point? No, there's no reason for me to be interested right there. BLOK. I think this is what it says, amplified transformational data sharing ETF. I seem to recall this was sort of like the one that Kathy Woods would like if she was trying to take a position in the space through the stock market. I don't know what to make out of this. Probably there to there gives us upside objectives 2.618 up there. Maybe this right here will be a 4669. Oh, there it is up there. I suppose back kind of like what we saw out of the coin. There's probably your major traffic area, all these old lows. There's probably a bunch of guys that wanted to get short here. They even probably have their open orders to short that level. But the market just never traded there and it just kept going down. So, nice counter trend rallies back up into this sort of $29, $30 area. Seems logical to me, especially if this market actually has some sort of summer rally. This is the same thing I said about coin though. Can you actually justify buying that? Notice we're actually at a gap right now. So this is actually an area, if I was like futures trading this kind of thing, I would be like, well, I want to hunt if now that we're into reload zones. And is this like an AB equals CD objective? So A to B, C to D. So that's up into here. So we've already exceeded that. This is probably like one of those alt A, B, C, Ds. We can go A to B, call that a bot setup. There's the classic bot target. Then alt AB equals CD levels. 1.272 is basically right up against this 88.6 level. 1.618 would be sort of a play into here. Also notice too, there's a bunch of gaps, right? There's a huge gap. There's a gap. This is all gappy in here. So there's lots of unfinished business to the upside as well. So the issue here, of course, this thing's got a head of steam in it. I don't know what's driving it. It's probably some particular stock or something that's in this thing. I don't know whether this is just a pure Bitcoin proxy. Probably has a bunch of like stocks that are actually being driven here in this. Can you buy that there now? No. As I said, we're coming into resistance. There's a gap right there that needs filling. I like the idea that maybe we've even hunt maybe like a short right in this area if you feel so inclined. And this is kind of like look left, right? So when we break through this level here, right in this area here, you go, okay, where is the next resistance level? There was a little bit of one in here, and that might explain that kind of price action in there. Once we get through here, though, look left. Oh boy, all the way up here. Not really a big surprise. We go zooming straight up. But once we sort of, if we do hit this and stall out here, look left, notice it's like straight up and then straight back down. You might find that this goes straight up and then straight back down. And then you might find that actually this is a reload zone, which probably gets traded to through the fall. Yep, there it is. And this is going to make some crazy ass head and shoulders 6 months ahead of the halving event, which would be basically right on cue. All right. So we've got left shoulder over here, head here, right shoulder over here. And really all you'd like to see is, can you just make sure that the market does not go through this low? If you can get some sort of, and it can even like sort of tail through here. Just don't want to see it close in earnest through there. You might get something like that, which sets up probably a pretty good trade heading into the halving event, right? 6 months ahead of the halving event. So that's sort of what I see there. Mr. Sailor, same sort of thing. Big old gap on the charts right down here at this original bottom. So heading into that fall event, September, October. Maybe it even gets dragged on into the end of the year. I don't know. I could see this thing trade back down to these lows. Right now, as it stands, actually, he went and broke probably a pretty big, significant resistance point there. So way to go, Mr. Sailor. I don't know whether is that actually a double bottom. That low there was $134.09, and this low here, $132. So it looks like that's a little bit lower, isn't it? Yeah. So that is technically a V bottom. And with these gaps, in fact, actually, there's a couple gaps, right? There's this one here, and there's this one here. So I don't know whether you can really declare this as some sort of bottom. I don't think so. It's interesting when we were sort of walking through this over the past 6-8 months kind of idea. There's 1 2-to-1 setup that failed. Did have the move stop to scratch level hit. So I guess you got stopped out on scratch. And we had another double bottom 2-to-1 setup. This one hit. I suppose that's a trader's life. You would be profitable, but you'd only be batting 50%. As it stands right now, and this is the same thing with all of these. Could I justify going in and buying that there? No, pretty simple answer. It's interesting how this thing is sort of, have you guys ever heard me say, and obviously if I ask this question, you know what the answer is, that sometimes after the fact, you'll look back and you'll see that the darn market actually bottoms right off the 78.6 of the entire range. So there is a really, really good example of that. Obviously, huge W. Insane amount of risk. In fact, that's basically like more than a 50% of your capital kind of risk. But you can see that is 78.6. You see this happen all the time in the markets. So not really a huge surprise. I would say that this thing is going to be trending higher. You guys know how this goes when we start seeing W's on other sides of trend lines. So there is the downtrend line. There is the breakout. Is this enough for a W on the other side of trend line? I don't know. It looks to me more like down, up, down. There's a cute little W here, which means that what this is to me is and actually could even bought this out. So there to there, 33.66. There to there, 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. Looks pretty good. Bought trade sets up off the double bottom there. So your buy signal's there. And you even had a nice little Wyckoff check to help you get in on that bought level. That's kind of interesting, eh? Notice that Wyckoff check there. So what that means in the short term, it looks like, I guess, I don't know how I've drawn this trend line. It almost looks to me like we want to just go back and revisit that trend line from the other side. So that's just drawn off of that low and that low. Market structure. Interesting how, trend line was support there, and now it'll probably be resistance here. And that probably lines up with a test of this high right here, that high right there. So, yeah, notice how that's right up against that 1.618. And if the market did sort of push up into that trend line as resistance, that would make sense. And then what that would mean, left shoulder, neckline, head, we got a right shoulder over here, some sort of consolidation like that, which sets up your next bull move. I never really been a fan of this asset or the Sailor guy. I think he's just, it's pure opinion. He's out there shilling Bitcoin going to the moon up here, but not really acting like a good fund manager. Kind of just sort of like, hey, this is my opinion. This is what I think is going to happen. And he was just stunningly wrong. So caveat emptor, take your chances if you will. Me personally, I'd like to have like nice well-defined W bottoms, but considering that is 78.6 off the entire range, and you just want to put yourself on a dollar cost averaging plan, if and when Bitcoin does enter into a new bull market, this thing probably gets going. Is this a trade per se for me here? I suppose there was a trade if you really like this guy off this 307 level, looking for 4.25, which isn't bad. I mean, it's $120 or so, but there's nothing I can do here at the 66 level. Do with it as you please.